Does anyone want to take a stab at what a concept is?
Yeah.
An idea, right? Does it have to be in play? No, right? So it's just an idea. It's a concept for the future. It's something that kind of shows the progression, right? I have an idea, so therefore I'm going to try to drive something a little bit further. So that's exactly what the dictionary defines it as, right? The definition of the concept is that something that's conceived in the mind. It's a thought, it's a notion. It could be abstract, it could be realistic. So when I start thinking about concepts, the first thing that comes to my mind is cars, concept cars, right? So interestingly enough, someone had the concept back in the day that the horse and buggy was not the best way that we need to move around. So what they did was they designed this first stationary gasoline engine. It was developed by Carl Benz, you see right there, and it ran for the first time on New Year's Eve on 1879, right? So we took this basic concept of transportation and we put some power behind it, we put some engineering behind it, and bam, we got something like this. So what I like to think about is, well, we went from that to this, right? And that comes from tons of innovation, tons of work in the field. And so I just like to call this segment, how do you build a concept car? This is all going to make sense in a second. So one of the things is that, right, we want to showcase how fast we can move and how easily we can move, and you know, just the whole purpose of putting different technology around the tires. So the tires are getting smaller, the rims are getting bigger, or you might want to change the cosmetic feel of it to make it a little bit more appealing. So you can, you know, tint it so much you can't see inside or out of the car, right? You have so much tint all over the place. Coloring. Right, that's what I'm saying. So you can also showcase the kind of the innovation in how it looks cosmetically. You can put LEDs all over the place. You can change things around so that it makes it easier to get in and out of the car, and you can make doors that kind of open like that to make it easy. Or you can hop in the car and you can have the roofs that come open like this. You can do all sorts of things to the interior, and you can, you know, put all sorts of LCD, LED screens, touch screen phones, so on and so forth, right? Showing that we can now communicate to the outside world. Where if you take a look at the first car, something like this was not even a notion. So now let's kind of bring this back to the reason why everyone's here. So now we're going to talk about 1 second is how can we build this concept PMO? So the concept PMO, theoretically, if you had a perfect PMO, you should be able to have certain capabilities in place. For example, you should have a risk management practice, a schedule performance management practice, cost management, scope management, so on and so forth. And you see, PPM tools is only one of the many capabilities that you should have within your PMO. So we're kind of taking a step away from specific tools, and we're saying, look, let's see all the tools that we have. Sometimes we have a lot of options, sometimes we don't have a lot of options, but ultimately what we should be able to have is we should be able to have tools that kind of help out with each one of these different core capabilities. And for those that are in the room right now, on the back table over there by Jason and Roman, there's this sheet that we do this complimentary PPM capabilities assessment, where we take a look and assess all the different competencies as far as project portfolio management, and kind of show what the user adoption is with an organization of each one of these components. So we're going to talk about how can we build this concept PMO now, right? So what are the different components that would be nice to have within your PMO? First and foremost is that you should be able to provide visibility across all projects, across all resources. Doesn't matter what tool that they're using. Let's have a way that we could see everybody: agile teams, waterfall teams, resources all over the place, different globe, you know, different locations, so on and so forth, right? The next one is that we need to be able to manage our demand. we have questions that are coming in from all sorts of places. We have requests that are coming in from meetings, from down the hall, from off-site meetings. They're kind of getting funneled into all sorts of places. So let's have one way that we can bring everything together so that we can manage this kind of demand and put some good forecasting behind that. Strategy. We all know that the business needs a strategy, but how can we actually align the projects to the overall business strategy? How can we grade that? How can we provide these types of, scenarios to the executives so that we know which projects need to happen, because those are the ones that are closely aligned to this overall strategy of the business. Metrics. Communication of key metrics. So we can have meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and we may not know what the main thing is that we need to talk about. However, if there is a way that we can define and standardize our key performance indicators, the key metrics that we have, let's now organize a way that we can have our meetings about these particular metrics. 1, 2, 3, get this meeting out of the way, or maybe even communicate the metrics in such a way that you don't even need to have a meeting about this. We'll get to that too. Resource planning. It's, I'm not going to get too deep into the resource planning because that's going to be what the second presentation is all about. However, resource is quite arguably one of the most expensive and most valuable asset within an organization. So to be able to understand all the pieces of the puzzle, put that together, and forecast this demand again, it's an essential piece. This has been a very hot topic within many PMOs, is this bimodal PMO, having this blend of this waterfall and agile together. I see a lot of smiles because it's something that we've been hearing a lot. So how can we actually get these teams to talk together? But now there's this issue about, well, again, it kind of all ties together. Let's have agile teams and waterfall teams, and let's allow them to work wherever they want to work, but let's make sure that we do our resource planning on top of all that. Okay. And then, of course, having everything all in the cloud in one location. And the key for that is that it's almost like a file cabinet, right? If you need to find something, it's nice to have this central repository where you can kind of open up the file, so to say, see what you're looking for, look through the files, and then pick it right out. Okay? So this is ProjectCon 18, right? The last ProjectCon that we had, which was in the fall, we spoke about enabling capabilities, and our theme is this Project Management 365. And if you take a look at this whole risk management, schedule performance management, all the way through issue management, these are the key components that we should be able to have by leveraging this entire stack of Microsoft 365 products. So for those that may not be familiar with the way that Microsoft recently categorized this entire stack of solutions, which was done in July, in the upper left-hand quadrant is where we have our modern workplace. This was our basically Office 365, everything Office 365. To the right is the business apps. This is where you see your Dynamics suite. This is where you see your Dynamics PSA and Dynamics field services. When you look to the lower right-hand quadrant, this is where you get your apps and infrastructure. And apps and infrastructure consists of kind of your integration, cloud, server, agile type of tool. So the SGS is a very popular scaled agile framework Microsoft tool. PowerApps is a really neat, and I'm spending a little bit more time on this section because this is the kind of lesser spoke about solutions of Microsoft. So PowerApps is a really neat app where you can kind of drag and drop. It's almost like a website drag and drop builder where you can build your own apps and deploy that internally, where you can build your own apps and use it on the phone. I'll show you what that looks like. This is all tied together. And Flow is this really neat integration solution that integrates almost every one of these Microsoft solutions really out of the box. If you can set up rules in Outlook, right, you could set up rules in Flow to integrate things. And in the lower left-hand quadrant is where we get our data and artificial intelligence quadrant. arguably one of the most, interesting one out there, right? So this is where your Power BI sits, your SQL Server sits, and I'm going to showcase, this is also where you get your Microsoft Azure bot framework. And that's where you can kind of develop this artificial intelligence to, have like this question and answer type of thing within your own PMO, within your own organization. If anybody is interested in this, we have a free version of our Microsoft Project Bot on our website. You can go and check out the solutions, go and click on that. You can request the iframe code where you can embed that in any SharePoint site. I'll showcase it to you. It's we developed this bot which allows you to ask any Microsoft project question, and it's going to answer you. It takes a look at our managed services knowledge base. It takes a look at Microsoft websites, so on and so forth. Gives you the right answer. Just remember, it is just the bot. So kind of you might have to ask a couple different times, couple different questions. But I'll show you what it looks like. Yeah. So the iframe that I was talking about is more for this bot framework. So we have this bot in a nice chat window that's the iframe code. With regards to Power BI, I think your question was the export capabilities. And Power BI, given the right licenses, you can export to PDF, you can export to PowerPoint, you can export to a web link, you can export to an iframe code, just like you said. And I'll show you what that looks like when you export a report pack and you put it somewhere. It's actually part of the next thing. So moving along, what we're talking about over here with this particular Concept PMO, right? Remember, we went from the Concept Cars to the Concept PMO. So now, if you were to take all these solutions, I'm going to just do that again. It took me 4 months to set up this PowerPoint automation. It's kind of cool, right? Sure. You can ask again. Let's go forward. We go back. And this is a new feature in Microsoft PowerPoint, is this morph function. If anyone is familiar with morph, it makes these really neat animations. So what we're going to be talking about today is centering Microsoft Teams. Just by show of hands, who here is using Microsoft Teams? Okay, about 50% of the room. So who here is using Microsoft Teams with all of these different tool sets? Some of them? Many of them. Cool. So I'll ask you afterwards if this is kind of similar to the way that you guys are setting this up. So what we aim to do is kind of showcase this, and we haven't seen this really too often. How can you leverage the social media capability of Teams to keep everybody in the same loop about specific things while still leveraging your Office 365 and other Microsoft investments to really be able to have all these capabilities all into one location? And then it kind of gets a little bit interesting, because now what Teams allows you to do is not just have this Microsoft capability, but now you can also bring in non-Microsoft technology into this mix. So along with all of these different solutions, we're also going to be bringing in Jira and GitHub for your developers, Wiki to be able to showcase some, good document management type of ways, along with YouTube. Okay, so let's get on to this actual demo part. Yeah. Actually, Teams is different than TFS, and I'm going to showcase what that is right now. Okay, so let me get on to this part right here. All right, so for those that are familiar with Teams, this is not going to be anything new to you. I did change the look of it, so this is the dark theme. I realized recently that everyone cool is using dark themes, right? I see a couple. We're not cool. Okay, well, I wasn't until last week, so it's not too late for anybody here. So dark theme is the way to go nowadays. I'm starting to find out. So what Teams aims to do, are you familiar with Slack? So this is kind of Microsoft's answer to Slack. What Teams allows you to do is create different channels and stay relevant and kind of communicate in one location. Okay, so what we aim to do in this presentation is show you this Concept PMO built within Microsoft Teams. Okay, so the way that we did this is that we created a new channel for every type of PMO use case. So we created a channel for your PMO, VP PMO, PMO directors, PMO managers. We created a channel for resource managers. We created a channel for project managers. Okay. We created a channel for agile team members because they want to be different than the other guys. We created a team channel for waterfall team members because they also want to be different than the other guys. We have a training center for the training fans over here. We created a support center, which is our little plugin. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then we have the sales teams, and we can't leave out my favorite sales guys. But also the reason why we're showing sales is because there's this integration with Dynamics, right? Dynamics is more of a customer-facing application where everything else can be seen as almost like an internal tool. So we're going to showcase that in a second. So within each one of these different channels, and I'm going to try to be as prescriptive to the way that I'm describing this as I can, there's different tabs, okay? And you can create these different tabs to load in different applications, different websites, whatever, you know? And what's interesting is that you see that I'm signed in under my user authentication. So what that means is that you would be able to set this up however you need to set this up with whatever links you need to set this up and sign in using your Microsoft accounts. And because this is user authenticated, you'd be able to see whatever information that you have permissions to see. All going to make sense in a second. So if you're a PMO, probably the first thing you're going to want to see is reports. Show me reports. What's going on? Show me the status of the PMO. Show me the status of this X, Y, and Z, right? So we included this tab over here, and this is where you're leveraging Power BI right now. So the report that I'm showing you right now, this is the Trusted IT Group Managed Services report that we give free at no additional charge to anyone subscribed to our managed services. Again, a little plug, I have to. So what this shows you is your portfolio summary report. So again, from one view, you get this way of seeing your entire portfolio. Now, let me explain what's happening in the back end. What's back end is that this report is feeding from a Project Online environment only. Okay, so we connected it to our Project Online environment. We've already done all the plumbing so that this is now going to extract information from your Project Online environment and put this into this nice way where you see some colors. You can click around over here, and it's fully dynamic. So for example, if you wanted to see all the projects that, let's see, for example, Jason Panzis is working on, of course, he's working on the lead generation project. So you could see that it has this drill through capability, right? If you wanted to see all the projects that Dan Norkin is working on, you'd be able to click through. And then there's other reports. So for example, there's the last published report where for those that are using Microsoft Project Desktop Client, that's out of the box integrated with Project Online, so that now you could see right off the bat what was your most recent project that was just recently published, and some other key information like work hours, cost variance, so on and so forth. One other one that I want to show you before we get too far would be our health check report, which gives you one quick view at to the health of your actual projects at the project level. So for example, you'd be able to see the project name, project owner, project type, and then which tasks have a late start, or how many tasks have a late start. How many tasks still have generic resources on them, right? So we have a process gap over here with actually taking generic resources and adding a real person onto here. Which tasks have no effort? How many issues are on this project? How many risks are on the project? Again, these are the kind of things that you can have part of your communication management so that you can understand what do we need to work on? How do we understand the health of the project without even having to go ask every project manager what's going on? Okay, so this is using Power BI. The next one is our project center. So again, this is showing you the central repository. So for those that are familiar with Microsoft Project Online and Microsoft Project Standard, consider that each one of these line items is a project department. So for example, here's the finance department. And if we wanted to see all the projects going on in our finance department, all we have to do is just go one level down, and now you'd be able to see it. And other key indicators as well. So for those that are familiar with Microsoft Project Desktop application, consider each one of these line items a separate project plan, a separate MPP file. Okay, so this central repository gives you one view of all the projects going on, depending on how you group it. Okay, so taking it one step further, so first we're talking Power BI, then we're talking Microsoft Project Online. So now part of your demand management is your SharePoint project requests. And I'm going to get to how we can funnel the requests in here a little bit further down, considering the fact that the project requests are coming from somewhere other than the PMO. Most likely they are. So project requests are coming in. It's nice to have one view of all the project requests in one location so that you'd be able to see some key indicators such as project description, project region, and request status, approved or not, or draft, or so on and so forth. And I'll show you how we've done this in this environment, how we're feeding this project request page. Okay. The next part is our business drivers. So, yes.
For that report, you just see the ones that you have access to, correct?
For that report, you just see what you have access to. Absolutely. According to your permissions. So because I'm in the system as an admin, I see it all. Exactly. So the next section that we see right here is our driver library. And you see that we have our strategy section. Strategy section is really important because we want to be able to, have this core project portfolio management practices, making sure that our projects align to the overall business strategy. That's what PPM really is all about at the core. So when we're taking a look at this, you can create your particular business drivers. You can create the standardization. I'm going to dive one level deeper into here. And what I mean by the standardization is that there might be some question in the organization right now as to how we are actually standardizing what these drivers actually mean. Well, you can go ahead and write down all your project impact statements. So if a project does not grow revenue from any new markets and segments, you're going to say that this is none. If it grows revenue from new markets and segments by 500K, you're going to mark it as low. And you do this whole exercise. I'm going to tell you, from our implementation perspective, this is fairly easy. The part where organizations lean on our experience is helping drive this organization discussion, helping drive the right people in the room, because this part is fairly easily configured within Project Online, but the difficult part is getting everyone to actually understand and be on the same page and coming to the agreement. So where Teams actually helps out with that, and I guess I want to come back to why we're putting this into Teams, is that you can have this chat. You can have this chat about this particular page, about these particular business drivers, and your chat conversation gets stored in here so that you can always go back and talk about go back and look at what we were talking about. Okay? So I'm going to step out of this business driver discussion, and I'm going to move on to our portfolio analysis. And let me close this chat window. Maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger right now. So in Project Online, there are many different ways that you can create these what-if type of scenarios. And again, this is what the PMO is looking for. So in Project Online, there's this module that you can have this what-if type of scenario on being able to grade against two major constraints, either cost constraints or resource constraints. Right now, we're taking a look at the cost constraints. You can see that we're at the cost constraint right now. Okay, and then we would also be able to analyze against the resources. So what is the difference between the two? If you have cost constraints, you have all these projects that you could do. However, the truth is you can only do what the budget allows you to do. So you can select the different criteria. And I'm just going to showcase. So we have 10 projects in our project portfolio. We are looking at these 10 different projects. And right now it's saying that for us to do all these 10 projects, we're going to have to spend $879.5 thousand. And you walk into the CIO's office and you say, let's go ahead and do this. And the CIO says, look, I'd love to, this is all great, but tell me, what is the ideal project portfolio mix for only $500,000? So what you can do is you can put in the new cost constraint. You'd be able to recalculate it. And then it's going to give you the new selection scenario. So for $500,000, we can only move forward with these 7 projects listed below. And then it also showed you what projects have been unselected. So then you'd be able to force certain projects in. You'd be able to shuffle these around and create your what-if type of scenarios. So this could be a whole nother webinar and a whole nother time. And I'd be happy to talk about this afterwards, because this one section always gets a lot of questions. But I just want to keep this moving because we have 8 other sections to discuss. But ultimately, this could be how a PMO conceptually could use this particular Teams channel to do, the types of things that enhance PMO capabilities. So, resource managers. Let's get onto the resource manager section. So, resource managers, again, leveraging Microsoft Project Online, you have this central repository for your entire resource pool. The way that we have our default, demo environment is that you have your resources grouped by skill level, skill set, rather. So if you wanted to see all your developers, you'd be able to open that up and check out your developers. And now let's actually clear this. And then from the resource management perspective, and I'm not going to dive too far deep into this one because this is really, Alex is going to be talking about this entire thing. But let's say you wanted to take a look at the availability of either Glenn or Jim, you would be able to have this out-of-the-box capacity planning module, which is going to show you your resource utilization. Now, neither of these resources are being utilized, so that's why you don't see any of their capacity. So if you wanted to see from the other side their remaining availability, there's a lot of different ways that we can go ahead and slice and dice this. You see that now they have all of the remaining availability. So should you need 2 developers and you're looking at Glenn and Jim, right from this one screen, you see that they're available. You can throw them onto a project. Okay? The other one is a SharePoint app that we embedded into this team site. The SharePoint app is something that we give at no additional charge to our managed services clients, but it's free right now on the SharePoint site. And what it does is it deals with our engagements. Is anyone familiar with engagements, just by a show of hands? No one? Good. You can see you're hanging out with Alex. Yeah. So what engagements are, let me just explain really quickly just to give a good segue into Alex's presentation. When you have a project schedule and you have specific tasks, you can assign a resource to a specific task, right? And then you lock them in for however long that task is. Let's say, keep it simple, the task is 8 hours, and you want, Alex on this particular project for 8 hours, you assign him to the task, whatever the task is. What happens is, that's all good, but what happens if you want to plan beforehand? What happens if you know that you want Alex on this particular project, but you don't want him on a particular task just yet? You want to be able to lock him into a particular time frame. And that's what the engagement feature aims to solve, so that you have this feature where it's right out of the box in Project Online. This has nothing to do with the SharePoint site. It's already out of the box of Project Online, where you can ask for an engagement for Alex to be on a particular project for a particular % of utilization. Let's say I want him 100% of his time for this particular project, and you would be able to lock him in so that no one else can go ahead and pick him and put him on something else. Then you can go and open up your project professional. He's part of the resource pool for that particular project, part of the project plan, and you can add him to the task later on. So Alex will talk about that, but we embedded this into our team site. Okay, moving a little bit forward, getting into everyone's favorite part is the project manager section. Okay, So now when we log in and we're the project manager, we have a couple things. Remember I was telling you about the request form, that there's requests that could be coming in? So we've developed a PowerApps request form. So this is loading up PowerApps. And the reason why it's showing you this is because if you download PowerApps from the whatever, Android apps, Play Store, iPhone store, you can have it on your phone. And this is actually going to look identical like this on your phone. So the way that we've developed this app, it's you just load this up. This is your idea hub, and it feeds directly that request, that SharePoint request sheet that I showed you at the first, I think it was like the third tab that I showed you at the very top. So here we're using PowerApps feeding into SharePoint, which is then creating projects in Project Online. You see how all these different solutions can all work together. Alexa or Katana? Alexa or Katana? We started with Alexa. We're throwing Amazon into this mix too. So very simply, just to show you how this would look, right? If you were to say, I want to add something in there, look, title, cost, expected benefits, for example, project department, so on and so forth. Okay? So here's PowerApps. And again, you have a team meeting, someone has a great idea for a project idea. Instead of saying, hey, can you do me a favor, send an email to this person, that email gets flooded in the inbox with every one of our Trusted IT Group marketing emails and everything else, you're going to lose track of all that stuff. So here you go. You can just go into the phone, type it in, submit the request. Okay, so the next tab is this Teams wiki site. So Teams has this wiki site out of the box embedded in here where, for example, we wanted to showcase, here's our SOPs. Every project manager, if you have a specific SOP, for example, you have a change management process that was just freshly rolled out and you want everyone to be familiar of what this process is, well, you can embed this right here into Teams and understand the purpose and objective, scope, change management documents, so on and so forth. Something I didn't show you before is files. So for example, there's a project charter that just got rolled out, or maybe there's a project charter that needs to happen with every single project. Well, because this is using Teams, Microsoft Word Online, and OneDrive as well, so that you can actually click on this, you can edit it right here in Teams. It's going to save it, and then when you're done, you can close out. But again, all your progress is always auto-saved. So going on to this bimodal project schedules, and here's something very interesting. So if you were to go to our website right now, trusteditgroup.com, you go to the solution section, we have this free and open source integration solution. This integration solution is a free and open source code that we have that integrates Project Online with almost any other tool that has an API. From the very beginning, we've baked in, and I'll show you right here, Jira and Visual Studio Team Services. So there's no licensing for anything. This is integration right here. And let me show you what this aims to do. So here's your Microsoft Project Online. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So here's your Microsoft Project Online project page, right? So you created a project, and now we're going to make a really crazy scenario. There's a scenario where you have a project, where you have a waterfall style project that runs into an agile style project, and you need all this on the same schedule. But they're using multiple tools in the same schedule. So we're using Microsoft Project for the waterfall part, then we're using Jira for another part, then we're using Visual Studio Team Services for another part. Look, these agile guys, they're like, I want to work wherever I want to work, and I don't really care what you think, and I'm just going to go over there, and I'm going to download this thing, and I'm just going to do it. From PMO, you're saying, okay, fine, look, just get the work done. I just want to see who's doing it and where you guys are. So what we've done is have this integration solution built in so that you could see that, you know, this takes from the epic level, feature level, story level, issue level. You can bring that right into the project schedule. So if you just wanted to see from this interface what has been linked, you can see that we have some things linked in Jira, some things linked in Visual Studio. So now let's go and take a look at how this actually looks like in the project schedule. Okay, so when we get to the project schedule, this is what everyone's familiar with. Here we have this waterfall delivery side, right? So now you have your waterfall, you have your initiation process, right? We have all the buckets, you have your resources over here, so on and so forth, right? Everyone's familiar with that. But now when we're doing the agile work, the same thing could be done where this is actually taking things from this Jira world, from the Visual Studio Team Services world, and it's actually putting this information right here into this schedule. Okay. I see you. So what this actually allows you to do is now see what resources are working in these different tools, put them in here, so now you can do resource management across multiple tools for the PMO. No, this works for Jira on-prem as well. Oh, works for Jira on-prem as well. Yep. Yeah. No, it works for Jira on-prem. It works for TFS as well, which is the on-prem version of Visual Studio Team Services. But us cloud first, this is how we're demonstrating it. Yeah. We're demonstrating it with the cloud capability. So on-prem works too, guys. Okay, so here's this whole agile world, bimodal. And then just to show you some other Teams capability is that for anyone that's using OneNote, you can also embed OneNote right here into this Teams channel. So if you're taking meeting minutes and it needs to be formally documented in here, as opposed to having just a chat transcript on here, you would also be able to embed OneNote as well. Okay, so now let's get on to our Agile team members. Agile team members, we have our Visual Studio Team Services board built right into the Teams channel. So what this would allow you to do, and as soon as it loads up that you'll see, you have your Kanban board from the Visual Studio Team Services side right on here. So you can actually have your Agile team say, look, we're keeping everything in Visual Studio Team Services, but look, let's just hang out here in Teams, right? We can have our meetings. When you have your meetings through Teams, you can have meetings through Teams as well. You could just drag and drop the different boards to wherever they need to be. So for those that want lightweight agile project management, this is where Microsoft Planner comes in. And Microsoft Planner also gives you this kind of Kanban board, swim lane type of project management. Okay, so you have that also for your agile teams. For those developers that are using GitHub, you can also embed your pull requests right in here. And then you would also be able to have your Jira issues come up right over here just so you can keep track of everything going on. Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is the waterfall team members. And waterfall team members, of course, when they get assigned a task in Microsoft Project Online, you want to be able to see your specific tasks. So whenever you sign on, you would be able to see whichever tasks are associated to you. And this is for your team members. So for those, excuse me, for those that just may want to understand the licensing part. So Microsoft Project Online has these 3 different licenses. They have Microsoft Project Online Premium, Microsoft Project Online Professional, and Microsoft Project Online Essentials. And this Essentials is where you're going to see probably the majority of your licenses. Those are just for the people that don't need to see the project schedule, don't need to do resource management, don't need to do portfolio management. All they need to do is be able to understand their tasks, get their tasks updated, and maybe update the project site for any issues or risks or documents that they see. So this is for those Project Essentials licenses so that you can go ahead and just update your task right here. Okay. You would also be able to have timesheets so that you can go ahead and enter your time. Okay. And then we also have our team collaboration site. And the team collaboration site, so every single time that you create a new project in Microsoft Project Online, out-of-the-box capabilities, it allows you to create this project site, team site. So that this is where you can have, so this is essentially a SharePoint site that's sitting in Project Online that you would be able to see certain things, and this is just how we configured it, to show you certain milestones that are coming up, late tasks, the project timeline, and this is where you can get some other business documents relating to specific projects. You'd be able to post action items, your issues, your risks, your change requests, as it relates to specific projects. Okay? For all the training fans in the room, I know that we have a couple, you can have a training and professional development team channel. So that professional development is really important to us, right? We need to make sure that we keep advancing in our professional career. So for example, you can embed YouTube training videos. And this is our Microsoft Project Tips and Tricks. If you haven't checked this out, this is the most popular one that Trusted IT Group has. We have over 90,000 views on YouTube about this particular one. This is dealing with Microsoft Project Professional, a Microsoft Project Standard. This was a great one. So you can embed certain videos in here. You can also embed PDFs. So let's say if anyone wants to do PMP training. Let's say anyone wants to do PMP training in the organization. Let's say maybe you give a higher, we actually have a client that gives higher salary to PMPs, that they give certain bonuses or certain incentives for achieving this kind of certifications. And we all know certifications are really important. So let's have a place where everyone can go and search for this kind of information so that they can study, they can train, and we provide the resources to the employees to help them grow, okay? The next one is support. So if you enrolled into Trusted IT Group's Managed Services, I got to do this plug over here. There's this 24/7, 365 unlimited support that we provide. No cap of hours, no cap of tickets, anything that you can ask from general business application usage to how do we create custom fields, to so on and so forth. Admin questions are all in scope. You can go ahead, submit a ticket either online through an email, or we have a portal where you can go ahead and fill this out. We answer all your questions. We have SLA, so on and so forth. But again, the whole point is that we want to be able to give everyone the support and the direction that they need to be successful. So if you're a PMO and you have a place for your team members to get support, put that in a place where everyone can see it and roll this out to the wider organization. Okay? The next one is the sales teams. Is anyone here in a customer-facing project environment? I know there's a couple. Oh, wow, good. Okay, a couple of them. So there are many ways that we can go ahead and skin this cat, and this is personally one of my favorite aspects over here, being involved in the sales department. So there's this Dynamics world. Dynamics is super popular. It's the major competitor against Salesforce. Is anybody using Dynamics, just by a show of hands? I have 1, 2. Jason, I know you are. So let me show you a little quick glimpse of what this Dynamics world looks like. So I'm making this a real simple use case. The use case is this. You have a sales team. You got a lead. This lead turns into an account, or this lead is part of an account. You create an opportunity. You heard that somebody needs something. Then that opportunity closes. When that opportunity closes, congratulations. Now you close the deal. Now you have to actually do the work for it. So once that happens, we need to be able to create a project plan. We need to actually deliver what we signed for. So in Dynamics, and again, this is all right here in Teams. This is so neat. So we have this, and this is just one simple use case. Okay, so here's our Dynamics 365. This is our sandbox environment. And we have our chic department stores as our account. And we're trying to sell them something. Okay, so here we have opportunity 5, opportunity 4, opportunity 3, right? We're always trying to get new opportunities and understand how we can provide added value. So then, when you want to create an opportunity, you would be able to create new and create an opportunity. I did all that hard work for you guys. So here we are. Here's our opportunity, okay? And then what happens is we can have your contact name, your account name, your estimated budget, estimated revenue, so on and so forth, right? There's all these line items that kind of help you understand the mechanics and the process of this whole sales process. What is so cool about all these different things is that once, let me kind of take a step back. So there are many different times where the project can be created. And I'm going to show you how we do it personally in our own organization, right? So the way that we do it is you can either create a project plan after the deal is closed, which may or may not work for you. See, for us, we say when an opportunity reaches a 60%, right? So we want to, if you're doing resource planning by the time that the deal is closed, you're probably a little bit behind. So we like to say, if you ever got a proposal from us, and I hope that everyone in this room does, that's our 60%er. And at that 60%, that's when we create our project plan, just so, because that's all part of the delivery process. So what can be done, and I'm going to show you this, we have this Microsoft flow created called Close to Project. So what happens is, and I'm going to show you this, we have this Close to Project, and now I'm showing you this tab in Microsoft Flow. You probably wouldn't expose this to all of the sales teams. This is something that I'm showing you kind of on the back end. But has anyone seen Flow, just by a show of hands? A couple hands, right? So what this allows you to do is create these different rules. So let me show you how this goes. So we set a condition. The condition is in Dynamics CRM, or the sales module now, when a probability, this is one of our custom fields, when this custom field probability gets to 60%, if yes, then create a project in Project Online. Then send an email to a whole bunch of people, letting them know something has been submitted, project plan has been created. Now we have to go and actually, add resources, do some forecasting, do some planning, so on and so forth. And this is just one of the so many different ways that you can use Flow or use Dynamics or use Project Online to kind of build this project methodology out. So whether you're doing internal projects or external projects, this kind of Microsoft 365 stack of solutions really has everything that you need to kind of get to that next level and increase all the different capabilities. So I hope you guys like this Concept PMO. We took you through, it's a lot of different tools. Let me just go back and just showcase this just one more time. It's not just because I like the way that these things move. So we showcase, just to recap, like a wiki site, YouTube, Microsoft Word Planner, Project, Excel, SharePoint, Flow, Skype, Power BI, Jira, the bot. I didn't show you the bot. I'm going to get to the bot in 1 second. The bot, VSTS, Azure. Azure is what this integration solution was working on. I was setting up in the background. PowerApps to submit the app, to submit the intake. OneDrive kind of storing all the documents in the back. Dynamics from the sales creation and the opportunity and the account management. And Teams kind of holding all these solutions into one place. Let me just show you this bot framework really quickly. So time to wake this up. So there's this project bot. It's available right now. It's available on Facebook. So if you actually send us a message on Facebook, unfortunately you're not talking to me, so you're going to have to send me a private message. But you're actually talking to the project bot. So if you send us a message to our company Facebook site, this is the project bot. It's available for Teams, like you see right here, and I'm going to wake it up. I'm going to say hi. It's available as an iframe code. It's available on Skype for regular Skype, and I believe Skype for Business as well. So let's just give it a second to wake up. I hope it wakes up. It might still be sleeping. It was kind of a late night for this project bot. I mean, we had it working all night long. I think we have to give it some coffee. There you go. Hi. It was just busy helping out another customer right now. So, you might want to ask it, How do you create a new project in Project Online? And it's searching, and there you go. Create a project in Project Web App. And if that wasn't good enough for you, you can go ahead and, create a Project Online, create a project site in SharePoint, right? So it's going to keep on giving you all these different answers. Okay, you hit done. So there you go. You see, now you have all these different ways to provide extra support and different solutions, so on and so forth. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. Was this conversation helpful? What do you guys think? Was it helpful? No. You are. See, you're a good audience. This guy, the fearless leader over there. I'm going to say yes. And goodbye. Okay. So thank you again. We're going to take a 5-10 minute break until Alex comes back on. And just wanted to say thank you again to all of the webinar folks that we have. So thank you, and we'll come back in a couple minutes. Bye.